They don't want you to learn this, master it, and you won't just be smart, you'll be unstoppable. 1. The forbidden truth about intelligence. You were lied to about intelligence from the very beginning of your life. Since childhood, you were told that some people are born smart and others are not. You were taught that intelligence is a gift you either have or you don't. If you struggle, you're told to accept your limits. This idea sounds normal, but it is one of the most harmful beliefs ever created. When you believe intelligence is fixed, something dangerous happens. You stop trying to grow. You stop asking deep questions. You stop pushing your mind beyond comfort. Slowly, your thinking becomes safe, weak, and obedient. You begin to follow instead of lead. This lie trains people to obey instructions rather than think independently. Schools reward memorization instead of real understanding. Students are praised for repeating answers, not for exploring ideas. Curiosity is punished and obedience is rewarded. Over time, people learn to stay quiet, avoid risk, and accept mental limits without questioning them. But here is the truth they never tell you. Intelligence is not something you are born with. It is something you activate. Your brain is not complete or fixed. It is alive and constantly changing. Every thought you repeat strengthens certain connections in your brain. Every habit you practice reshapes how your mind works. When you train your mind, it grows. When you ignore it, it weakens. Genius is not gifted, it is built. Tesla, Da Vinci, and Einstein were not magical beings. They did not start life knowing more than everyone else. They trained their minds differently. They questioned ideas others accepted without thinking. They focused on deep understanding instead of memorizing facts. They used a hidden way of thinking that most people are never taught, and this way is kept hidden for a reason. A person who thinks independently is difficult to control. Once you think for yourself, you stop obeying blindly. You stop accepting limits without proof. You stop depending on authority to tell you what is true. You were never weak. You were trained to stay small, and the moment you decide to train your mind differently, your intelligence does not slowly improve. It begins to wake up. 2. The system that keeps you average. Ask yourself a simple question. Why does school reward repeating answers instead of truly understanding ideas? Why are students praised for memorizing information but discouraged from asking deep questions? These questions reveal an uncomfortable truth about the system you grew up in. The system was never built to create thinkers. It was designed to create followers. From a very young age, you're trained to sit quietly, follow rules, and accept information without questioning it. You're told what to think, what to believe, and what is right, but you're rarely taught how to think for yourself. In this system, obedience is rewarded. Students who follow instructions and repeat what they are told are called smart. But students who ask too many questions are labelled difficult or problematic. Curiosity is controlled, creativity is limited, and independent thinking is quietly discouraged. Over time, people learn that staying silent is safer than thinking deeply. Independent minds are dangerous because they cannot be easily controlled. A person who thinks deeply does not follow blindly. They ask why things exist the way they do. They notice patterns others ignore. They look for hidden motives behind rules, systems, and authority. This kind of thinking creates awareness, and awareness creates freedom. That is why the system keeps people average on purpose. It keeps minds busy with tasks, deadlines, and distractions, but not truly aware. People are trained to react, not reflect. They are kept moving, but never thinking deeply about where they are going. But the moment you see this system, something changes. You realize it is not broken. It is working exactly as it was designed to work, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Awareness breaks the illusion. When you understand how the system shapes your thinking, you can step outside it. You stop memorizing and start understanding. You stop following and start questioning. That moment is where real intelligence begins. 3. Your brain is not fixed. Your brain is not permanent, and it was never meant to be. It is flexible and constantly changing. Every thought you think, every habit you repeat, and every challenge you face slowly reshapes how your brain works. Nothing about your intelligence is locked or finished. Most people live their entire lives running the same mental program they learned when they were young. They think the same thoughts every day, react in the same way to problems, and accept the same limits without questioning them. Over time, their mind becomes automatic. It reacts instead of thinking. It stays comfortable instead of growing. Genius minds do the opposite. They do not trust their first thought as truth. They challenge their thinking and test their beliefs. When something feels difficult or uncomfortable, they do not avoid it. They move toward it. They understand that discomfort is not a warning sign. It is a signal that growth is happening. Real growth happens under pressure. When you struggle with hard ideas, your brain is forced to adapt. New mental connections are formed. Your thinking becomes sharper and more flexible. Each challenge strengthens your mind, just like resistance strengthens a muscle. Comfort keeps the brain weak. Challenge makes it powerful. The difference between an average mind and a powerful mind is not talent, luck, or genetics. It is training. One mind repeats old patterns, the other rewrites them. One avoids effort, the other uses effort as fuel. Once you understand this truth, something changes inside you. You stop saying, "I'm not smart enough." You stop blaming the past or your background. You realize your mind is upgradable, and when you choose to train it differently, your intelligence does not just increase, it transforms. 4. The first rule: question everything. If you truly want to think deeply and clearly, you must learn to question everything. Most people move through life accepting ideas, rules, and beliefs without ever testing them. They assume that if something is commonly repeated, it must be true. This habit keeps the mind passive and easy to control. Questioning is not rebellion or negativity. It is understanding. When you question an idea, you are not rejecting it. You're examining it. You're asking whether it is true, useful, or simply believed because others accept it. This single habit separates independent thinkers from followers. Start by questioning your own beliefs. Ask yourself simple but powerful questions. Why do I believe this? Where did this idea come from? Did I discover it through thinking and experience, or did I inherit it from parents, teachers, society, or authority figures? Many of your strongest beliefs were given to you before you were able to think for yourself. Belief without questioning is mental weakness. When a belief is never examined, it becomes a mental cage. People often defend ideas they never chose and rules they never understood. A questioning mind breaks these cages and replaces blind belief with clarity. Deep thinkers refuse simple answers to complex problems. They search for meaning instead of comfort. They look for causes instead of surface explanations. They are willing to sit with uncertainty until real understanding forms. This depth is where real intelligence grows. This is exactly why questioning is discouraged. Systems of control depend on unexamined beliefs. A person who questions deeply becomes aware, and awareness creates freedom. Once you start questioning everything, your mind becomes harder to manipulate and easier to trust. That is the first rule of true intelligence. 5. Think in images, not words. Most people think using words. Inside their mind, there is a constant inner voice talking all day long. This feels normal, but it is actually a slow and limited way to think. Words move one sentence at a time, and this keeps the mind stuck on the surface of ideas instead of going deep. Genius minds think differently. They think in images, movement, and mental pictures. Instead of hearing ideas, they see them. Ideas play like short movies inside their mind. This allows them to understand complex things faster and more clearly than people who rely only on words. Einstein did not discover his ideas by talking to himself in sentences. He imagined himself riding on a beam of light and asked what he would see. Tesla built entire machines inside his mind before creating them in real life. He could see every part moving and fix problems mentally. Da Vinci imagined the human body in layers, turning it in his mind to understand how everything worked together. Images create faster and deeper understanding because the human brain is designed to learn visually. Long before humans learned language, they learned by watching, imagining, and experiencing. Visual thinking uses more parts of the brain at the same time, making learning quicker and memory stronger. When you think in images, you no longer need to memorize information. You simply see how things work. Understanding becomes natural instead of forced. Problems feel smaller because you can observe them clearly from different angles. You can train this skill. When learning something new, stop repeating sentences in your head. Instead, imagine the process. Watch it move. Break it into parts and put it back together. Turn ideas into pictures, actions, and scenes. This way of thinking sharpens your mind, simplifies complexity, and upgrades your intelligence faster than almost any other method. 6. Ask impossible questions. Average minds ask easy questions. They look for quick answers that feel comfortable and familiar. These questions do not challenge the mind, and because of that, the mind stays small and predictable. This is how most people remain mentally average without even realizing it. Genius minds work differently. They ask impossible questions. These are questions that feel difficult, uncomfortable, or even scary at first. Questions like, what if everything I believe is wrong? What if there are no limits at all? How would the smartest person in the world solve this problem? These questions force the brain to leave its comfort zone. When your brain faces an impossible question, it cannot rely on old habits or simple answers. It must struggle, explore, and search for new ways of thinking. This struggle is not weakness. It is training. Just like muscles grow under resistance, the brain grows when it is pushed beyond what feels easy. Each time you wrestle with a hard question, your brain adapts. New mental connections are formed. Old thinking patterns break. New paths of thought appear. Over time, your mind becomes more flexible, creative, and powerful. This is how intelligence evolves. Impossible questions also teach your mind to see multiple possibilities. Instead of accepting the first answer, you explore many angles. You learn to think strategically instead of emotionally. You stop settling for simple explanations and start searching for deeper truth. Genius is not about having quick answers. It is about asking powerful questions. When you make impossible questions a daily habit, your thinking changes. You become sharper, deeper, and harder to limit. Your intelligence grows not because life is easy, but because you choose to challenge your mind every day. 7. Kill distraction, build focus. Distraction destroys intelligence quietly. It does not attack your mind in a loud or obvious way. Instead, it slowly breaks your ability to focus. Every notification on your phone, every endless scroll, and every small interruption steals a piece of your attention. Over time, your thinking becomes scattered and weak without you even noticing it. A distracted mind cannot think deeply. It jumps from one thought to another without finishing anything. It reacts instead of reflecting. This is why many people feel mentally tired but never truly think. Their attention is constantly pulled away before depth can form. The modern world is designed to keep you distracted. Apps, social media, news, and entertainment are all built to capture and hold your attention for as long as possible. Your focus becomes their profit. When your mind is always busy, it has no time to become aware. A powerful mind is a focused mind. When attention is controlled, thinking becomes sharp and clear. Focus allows ideas to connect. It allows patterns to appear. It allows you to see problems fully instead of reacting to them emotionally. With focus, you can plan ahead, think strategically, and act with purpose. Deep focus changes how your mind works. When you stay with one thought long enough, it grows stronger. Understanding becomes deeper. Creativity increases. You begin to notice details and connections that distracted minds always miss. To build focus, you must remove distractions. Silence unnecessary notifications. Reduce mindless scrolling. Create time for deep thinking without interruption. At first, this feels uncomfortable because your brain is used to constant stimulation. But this discomfort is a sign of growth. This is where average thinking ends. When focus becomes a habit, your mind becomes disciplined, clear, and powerful. Distraction no longer controls you. Your attention becomes your weapon, and intelligence begins to rise. 8. The sovereign mind. At the highest level, the mind becomes sovereign. It is no longer ruled by fear, emotions, or the opinions of others. It stands on its own, calm, clear, and completely independent. This is the stage where intelligence stops being just a tool and becomes a part of who you are. A sovereign mind is not easily shaken. Fear no longer dictates your choices. Praise does not inflate your ego, and criticism cannot break your confidence. You still feel emotions, but they do not control you. You observe them calmly and make decisions from clarity, not reaction. This emotional control creates a stillness that most people never experience. Your attention becomes protected. You choose what deserves your energy and focus. Distractions, noise, and manipulation no longer steal your mind. Your thoughts are your own. You question stories, ideas, and beliefs before accepting them. You see patterns behind actions and motives. You understand when others are trying to influence you, and you resist without struggle. This mind is quiet but powerful. It does not seek approval, validation, or attention. It does not argue unnecessarily or explain itself to anyone. While most people react impulsively, a sovereign mind calculates before acting. While others follow the crowd, it chooses its own path. While others panic in chaos, it remains calm and sees clearly. A sovereign mind is naturally free. It cannot be controlled or manipulated. It does not depend on external rules to feel safe or smart. It sees reality clearly and acts intentionally. This is why the world fears it. Systems, crowds, and authority cannot easily influence someone who thinks at this level. The sovereign mind is the final stage of mental evolution. It is quiet, steady, and composed. It anticipates, plans, and acts with precision. Decisions are made with clarity, not pressure. The mind moves through the world on its own terms, unshaken by distractions, criticism, or fear. This is intelligence at its ultimate form, powerful, independent, and impossible to control. It is the mark of someone who has trained their mind beyond limits, a mind that commands rather than obeys. CTA. If this changed how you see your mind, subscribe now. This channel is not for comfort. It's for clarity, power, and dangerous intelligence. The journey doesn't end here. It only gets darker and smarter.